now that we're in the fall time, there's a few things I want to do moving forward. This will benefit me now going into the winter time and into the springtime.
Keep it simple and just mow.
By now the grass is still green, but Bermuda growth is dramatically slowing down. It should be to a point where you're probably mowing once a week at a minimum. Maybe you can stretch it out once every 2 weeks. But one of the things I typically do at this time of year is when I'm mowing, I'm cutting very little off. You don't want to cut too much off at one time, because when you do, you're going to expose the brown. But that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is normally when you scalp or when you cut Bermuda too much, Bermuda will regenerate itself very quickly. So you'll get a quick green up within a few days. With Bermuda growth slowing down, you want to be careful with your mowing. Don't cut too much off because the green won't come as fast, and if it's late enough, there's a good chance that the green won't come back. So just be careful with your mowing. It's okay to mow, just don't cut too much off, because mainly for that reason. On the topic of mowing, I mow my lawn at about 0.35 to 0.45 inches. This is the time of year when I'm going to let it grow up just a little, roughly about 1 inches. Doing this is going to provide a little bit of an insulation coming into the winter time. It's going to protect the roots from the freeze. But to be honest with you, it's Bermuda. Bermuda will recover, so that's not too much of a concern. But this time of year, this is when I let the Bermuda grow just a little bit. If you're cutting your lawn at the higher end, meaning you're cutting at 2.5, 3 inches, you want to bring it down just a little bit, maybe about 2 inches. This will make clipping management more manageable going into the springtime when you're doing your spring scalp. Pre-emergence. Pre-emergence should have been put down like yesterday. With that said, you can still put it out, and a pre-emergent is going to take care of those weeds before they pop up. Just remember, it's not going to get rid of your existing weeds. So put out your pre-emergent, whatever brand, whatever type of pre-emergent you want to use. A pre-emergent is going to give you protection versus not putting down a pre-emergent. If you're dealing with severe weed pressure, you need to put out a pre-emergent. If you need to put out an insecticide, go right ahead and do it. The main concern I have this time of year is really ants, because ants will try to want to come into your home. So an insecticide is going to kill and take care of those ants. And obviously, besides ants, it's going to take care of other types of bugs. So if you have a severe bug problem, go ahead and put out insecticide. It's not going to hurt. Anytime you see leaves on the turf, you want to do your best to stay on top of it. I understand it can get a little bit overwhelming, especially if you have trees on your property, but you want to just try not to let the leaves sit on top of the turf for a long period of time. How long is really dependent on a few factors, but what I typically try to do is either mow over it, just mulch it into fine little parts, or just blow it into somewhere where it's not going to be on top of the turf. I'm fortunate enough to have a backyard that's backed into a wooded area, so I can just blow my leaves into that back space. But whatever you want to do, just mow over it or just blow it and keep it off the turf. There's one last thing I do, and I continue to do this even in the winter time, and that's walking my property. Roughly about once every 2 weeks or maybe once a month, you want to walk your property and just take a mental picture of how everything looks. You're going to identify small problems before they become big, expensive problems. So walking your property once in a while, how often you want to walk it is really entirely up to you. I like to walk mine once every 2 weeks, even during the cold months, because this is when you don't want to go out. So because of that, I want to walk my property once in a while just to identify any issues before they become bigger issues.